Good morning and welcome to Apex Online Racing. We're here today for the 5th round of the 3rd season of PS4 Oceania here on F1 2018. My name's Alex, some of you might know me as Curly, and I'll be once again providing the commentary and broadcast for you today around this incredible Catalunya circuit. One of the more downforce intensive tracks of the season, of course one of the Formula 1 test tracks as well. So the team is very familiar with this circuit. A lot of work has been done by the drivers to get ready for this race and hone the setup specifically for this circuit. A very different challenge from Baku last week. Baku with lots of short corners, the walls are very close, whereas this circuit is much more open and flowing and with plenty of long corners, to test the drivers, just as we're seeing coming through the second sector here with Sorel JB. You need quite a different setup at this track, a little bit more downforce than you did in Baku, and perhaps softer on the anti-roll bars, and just got to set up the car for those some medium and long corners that dominate the first half of this circuit. And then there's a short straight in the middle of the track here, as we come down into the third sector, which is one of the more technical sectors of track on the entire calendar. It's a couple of very difficult sections in here that run up the hill with the sort of little bump in before the right-hander can be very difficult, can definitely unsettle the car. And then this final chicane as well can be a bit of a nightmare for the drivers. The curbs are very hard. The curbs are very they're very high, and the camber of that corner, it really does drop away from you, so the car just wants to understeer constantly. But then we come down into turn 1 and 2, where the camber just hooks up the car perfectly, and you can really throw the car in there. So yeah, it's a track of two parts. I mean, the first and second sectors are very fast and flowing, and then the third sector is a little slower and more technical, and of course that final chicane leads on to the main straight, which is a very long straight. Something to note as well for the drivers coming into this is that the run from the line down to turn 1 off the start is, I think, the second longest run of the calendar behind Mexico. So for the drivers, it's being on pole position. It's great to be on pole position, but if you're not there, well, you can still attack into turn 1 because of the slipstream off of the start. So I think we'll see some kind of action between the drivers going into turn 1 on lap 1, possibly 2, or maybe even 3 wide, similar to how we often see in Mexico. So just to give you a little update on the championship standings and what went on in Baku. So we did have a new race winner in Baku, and he started off strong here today as well. It's VP Norfolk Blue, who came in and had a really brilliant race. I think started on the super soft tires and just showed phenomenal pace throughout all of it. So he's showing up and clearly shown that he has what it takes to win races, and what it takes possibly, even though he's missed the first 3 rounds of the season, maybe to make some kind of title challenge. He's sitting on provisional pole at the moment with a 1:17.1, so looks to be looks to have some pace around this circuit, maybe not just a one-off that we saw in Baku there. But he won the race. Frio ended up in second place with another wild tire strategy. He's actually been disqualified from this session. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. That did just happen when I was setting up the stream. So Frio, he will be starting at the back, but to be honest, for him, that doesn't seem to be able to stop him. He's the last few rounds he's been very happy to start outside of the top 10, start on the medium compound of tire, and then take the softest tire in the latter half of the race, and just make the most of that. And it's worked out very well for him, both in Bahrain and then in Baku as well. Of course, the tire compounds we have here are the softs, the super softs, the softs, and the mediums. I will just get the tire info up for you at the moment. So wow, yeah, so actually Norfolk Blue, speaking of him, he's done his 17.1 on the soft, so that's a mega lap from Norfolk Blue. I'd be amazed if anybody else can match that in terms of the softs. We'll see if anybody can beat it on the super softs. We've got a couple guys that certainly should have the pace to do so. Let's just get the rest of the information up there for you as well, as Contrast is coming to the end of his first flying lap on the soft compound tires. It's an 18.0. It's only good enough for 8th place. Now, this is something we expected to see for this race coming in on strategy, where the field will be somewhat split. If you start on the super softs, that leans towards a 2-stop strategy. Now, a 1-stop from the super softs isn't impossible. A super soft medium is doable, but it's very, very tight on the tires. The soft medium strategy, which I think we may see the likes of Norfolk Blue go for, is certainly much quicker in terms of race time. However, you are going to have to sacrifice some grid position to get away with that. You can also 2-stop at this track relatively effectively. You can do, super softs for really just the first 5 laps of the race or so, and then 2 sets of softs will take you to the end. And Spain is one of those circuits where, the 2-stop is viable. It can be very quick. The only problem for the drivers would be that they need to negotiate the traffic. So that just all comes down to whether the drivers can get their overtakes done quickly and without losing too much time on track. So yeah, it's I'm interested to see if anybody goes for that. This is one of the circuits where the 2-stop can do very well, and there aren't too many of those in the first half of the calendar. I mean, most of the races so far have been very 1-stop dominated, where the 1-stop strategy has just been outright faster, whereas at Spain, the difference between them is normally a little bit closer, so that can just open up the strategy somewhat for the drivers. As we're on board with MLJH, and yeah, we are missing one name out of the Ferrari team. Dubsy does not appear to be here this week. He's had a pretty rough start to the season, although we'll look at my way up the grid. I'm very glad to say that we've got Maznat back with us on the grid as well. He's had a couple weeks away, so it's good to see him making a return after a couple of weeks off. Now, just before we actually, we'll hop on board with, let's see what MLJH does over the line. He's currently sitting in 14th place, and he improves up to P10 and 18.7 on the softs. So we go on board with Maznat. Yeah, let's go with him returning back to the league after a couple weeks break. And he's now hoping to get himself up into that pole position. Obviously, our reigning champion here driving the Toro Rosso, a really beautiful car on this game. It's absolutely stunning, and I think that Honda engine as well sounds phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, he's had a tough start to the season. Maybe isn't the most accurate. He has a big moment in the third sector. I think he's going to have to back out of that maybe. He's completely lost the car, so yeah, he's going to have to back out of this. No sort of improvements coming there. As Chucky has retired from the session, I've missed what's happened with that. So that he will finish the session with an absolute best of a 17.7 and an absolute best of P5. We'll see if anybody's able to beat that. LGB is coming around on the super soft. Big, although he's already set 1 lap on the super softs, and then MLJH is just making his way back towards the pit lane. Stuart McKenzie's out there on the soft compound tires. We've got Stylen. He's just starting a lap on the softs. He's been pretty quick so far this season. So let's stay on board with him, see if he's able to get up there and challenge the likes of Norfolk Blue. But yeah, just to give you a quick rundown of how the championship is looking as well coming into this race. Of course, 4 rounds gone. It's James H leading the way with 67 points. He's had 2 race wins, a 3rd and a 9th, so very, very strong start to the season from him. Then we've got Stuart McKenzie in 2nd. Again, very consistent performances, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 4th. So he's not quite found the top step of the podium yet, but he's had a very solid start to the season, so he's got 57 points. Then we've got Frio in 3rd with 53, and then chasing up him, we've got Contrast, Stylen, Dubsy, and then Norfolk Blue jumped all the way up to 7th in the championship with his win in Baku. Obviously, they were just 25 points. Then we got P. Crichton, MLJH, and LJB making up the rest of the top 10 in the championship. So, yeah, of course, early days in the season, we've still got, still got 17 rounds remaining, including this one, as Stylen improves to a 17.8, but he's not able to get anywhere near that time that Norfolk Blue has done. That 17.1, incredibly quick. Someone who was able to get near it is Sir LJB on the super soft tires, though, so he is on one step softer compound than Norfolk Blue, but he does take the provisional pole. Just less than 5 minutes left in the session. P. Crichton, I think, has just finished a lap as well, has he? He's gone up to P4. Rumble looks like he's winding up for one. He's been pretty quick so far this season. He's taken to turning the racing line off very, very well, and has been right on it so far this season. He is a driver that, as we've seen in past seasons, I don't know, he just seems to find misfortune out of nowhere. We had so many races last season where he was in a promising position for maybe points, or maybe for like a podium or a top 5 points, and then just something would go horribly wrong. He's currently sitting 13th in the championship, which he certainly seems quicker than that so far this season. We'll see what he's able to do. Actually, we've got Stuart McKenzie on the soft compound tire, so he is able to challenge Norfolk Blue. He does a 17 flat on the softs. That's a very, very good lap, so he goes to provisional pole. It seems like some of these guys, well, the super soft runners are really struggling to match a couple of these soft runners up at the top at the moment, as we see Rumble not quite using all of the track through turn 9 there. Could have maybe carried a bit more speed if he'd gotten that line somewhat right. It clips the inside curve of that hairpin really nicely, though, and then up the hill and around to the right. The car just so unstable through there. Really just wants to kick out on you. It's more about it's almost more about survival than it is about driving quickly, as he thumps the inside curve. Really hammers that inside curve on the chicane. As Rumble makes his way to the line, what can he do? It's P2 for him, a 17.1. He's not able to challenge Stuart McKenzie, though. Him and Norfolk Blue's laps are absolutely phenomenal on those soft compound tires. And Stuart McKenzie still finds himself a provisional pole on the middle compound of tire. That's something. Contrast now aiming to improve on these soft compound tires. He's currently sitting in P11, which would not be the worst place to start on the grid. I mean, a free set of tires is always nice, and a circuit like this where the strategy options are kind of wide open. There's lots of different things you can do. Maybe we'll see one or two of those guys outside of the top 10 start on the medium compound of tires, run a little bit longer into the race, just past the halfway mark, and then take some softs towards the end and be very, very quick towards the end of the race. But of course, contrast, he's kind of he's sitting 4th in the championship at the moment. He's always been kind of up there or thereabouts at the podium. He will not be happy starting with 11th place in this Grand Prix. So we'll see what he's able to do as he comes into the 3rd sector now on his lap. He finds a 100-meter board, although he does run slightly wide through the hairpin there, so a couple tenths perhaps thrown away from contrast. And again, that car understeering really badly. So perhaps he's gone for a little bit more of a race up. He's just going to pull into the pits. He's not happy with that lap at all, and he's currently sitting in P11 and not able to improve. So maybe we'll have contrast starting a little further down than normal. Also, we've got, I think Plebs is in the middle of the lap, obviously just 1 minute left, as Contrast has chosen to retire from the session. So he is going to start at best P11. James H is in 10th at the moment. He's put a lap in on the softs, and those guys not starting as high up as they would certainly expect to. So let's see who we got. Let's stay on board with Maznat for now. We got a couple guys perhaps outside of that top 10 that might be able to improve and knock James H out of that top 10, so maybe he can get a free choice of tires. I think he'll have his fingers crossed for that. We got Stylen on the super softs as well, and then Pete Crichton too. So a few of these guys trying to make a go at pole. Maznat's had to back out of his lap and he will be starting at best 7th place, and maybe not even 7th place, as Stylen is absolutely flying on these super softs as he comes through the 2nd sector now, downhill left-hander. It's a very tricky braking zone into there. It's quite easy to lock that from left, and again, you know, a difficult braking zone into this chicane here, and the car really wants to step out on you on the exit. You know, it's a fast and flowing track around here in Catalonia, but yeah, it can be very, very technically challenging. So Stylen making his way into the 3rd sector. We've got Pete Crichton just behind him on track. Stuart McKenzie is actually out on the super softs in case he needs to do that lap, but we will stay with Stylen, who has backed out of it. Yeah, he's backed out of it, and somebody has improved. Piga has improved, so that bumps James H down into 11th place. He will get a free choice of tires in the race championship leader. Doing something a little bit different on strategy here. As Pete Crichton is about to cross the line, what can he go? Can he take pole position? No, he cannot. He improves, but not by enough, and it's only P5 for him. So we only really have, we got Wimpernator, who's he's just crossed the line and done a 19.2, so he's quite happy to start outside of the top 10, I think, as well. I did speak to one of the drivers post-race in Baku about Wimpernator and his performances so far this season. Turns out that not just turning the line off for this season, he's also made the switch to the wheel for this season. So that explains you know, him dropping down the field a little bit compared to last season. Because last season, you know, he constantly started outside of the top 10 and was finding himself up there in the top 5 at the end of the races. But you know, this season he's had a pretty tough time of it. But yeah, that's why he's made that switch across the wheel, and that does take some time to, you know, to get used to. But yeah, you know, hopefully he's very much enjoying that. And to be fair to him, you know, he's sitting 14th in the championship. He has had 3-point scoring positions so far this season, so it's not going too badly. Maybe we'll see him come on strong as the season goes on. He gets more used to that input device. But yeah, that's qualifying over here in Spain, and it is Stuart McKenzie on the soft compound tires. What a lap. 17.0, he takes pole position. Rumble in 2nd, LGB 3rd, Norfolk Blue with another great lap in 4th, Pete Crichton in 5th, Plevs 6th, Maznat 7th, alongside him is Piga, and then we got Shuki and Stylen making out the top 10. The first drivers with the free choice of tires, James H, Contrast. And those guys will be very, very quick coming through and finishing in the points, we would assume. And then we've got MLGH, Ente, Wimpernator, and Frio. Frio, once again, he's outside of that top 10, so let's see what he does in strategy this week. Very interested to see that and what kind of wacky strategy that he comes out with. I mean, I say wacky strategy, it's that's almost insulting to what he's been doing, because he's really been making the strategies work. So yeah, just seems to have a big advantage in terms of tire wear compared to most of the field, and he's really able to make the middle compound of tires work extremely well. At least that was the case in Bahrain and in Baku. So yeah, let's see what he does from the back of the grid. I mean, maybe I don't know, I mean, maybe we'll see him do the medium soft or just something. But yeah, I mean, for those drivers on the softs inside the top 10, so that's obviously Stuart McKenzie from pole position. He'll have a tough time holding on to that pole position down into turn 1. The super soft runners will get a better jump off of the line than him, so they'll gain a couple car lengths, you know, just by having the super soft tires and the traction those provide down towards turn 1. So he might have a tough time holding on to it, as we should be getting underway with the formation lap here, and off we go. Drivers able to warm up their tires, and you know, if I'm Stuart McKenzie here, I'm probably aiming, because you know, the lead driver, you do set the pace on the formation lap. So if I'm Stuart McKenzie, realizing that I'm on the soft compound tires and got to get some temperature into them, of course, the harder compounds of tires are generally much more difficult to warm up than the softer compounded tires. It doesn't really take too much work for the tires like the super softs to get them into the working range for the start of the race, whereas with the softs, you know, and especially those guys down the back of the field on the mediums, they're going to have to work quite hard to get enough temperature into these tires so that they're not struggling off of the start. And we're seeing this here. Stuart McKenzie, he's trying to run quite a quick formation lap so that he's got enough temperature in his tires to start off, and Rumble does need to catch up to him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, looking outside of this top 10, James H has gone for the softs. Contrasts. Wow, that's a weird call from Contrast. Very interesting, though. He's gone for the super softs outside of the top 10, so he's looking to make a quick start, trying something a bit different on strategy here. Maybe a super soft medium. He's on a brand new set, so he will be able to get a few more laps out of them, as you've got the cars weaving all over the back straight there. And we've got two guys on the medium tires, MLJH and Whimpernator. Whimpernator, who has been reset to the grid for, well, I'm not really sure what, some kind of contact, probably with another driver. He'll have some quite cool tires by the end of the session. But yeah, so just two drivers aiming for those medium tires, and Frio, he's gone for the soft. So yeah, let's see what he does on the strategy. But Stuart McKenzie, pole position on the soft compound tires. What a phenomenal lap that is. He hasn't been able to pick up the win so far this season. He came very close a couple times, but it's not quite come together for him yet. Can it come together for him in Catalonia this morning? He's done the job in qualifying. What an incredible lap to get himself up there in first place on the soft compound tires. But he's going to be watching Rumble behind him off of the start. He's going to get a very good launch, I would assume, as we build our way up to 5 red lights. It's round 5 of Season 3 of PS4 Oceania and the AOR F1 Hyper Energy Leagues, and off we go. It is lights out in Catalonia, and it's a really good start for Rumble. Rumble's taking the lead already. Look at him streaking away down into turn 1. An absolutely phenomenal start from the Haas driver, and he goes into the lead. There's contact between him and LJB. LJB makes a move almost down the inside on Stuart McKenzie, but Stuart McKenzie is just about able to hold on as Pete Crichton has found himself up into the top 3. LJB having to take a little bit of evasive action on the curb there, as the drivers are all swarming around behind them. And Norfolk Blue has lost a massive number of positions, and we've got a car off. That's Chucky. He's off in the gravel, and he drops down to the very back of the field. And there was some contact there. I didn't quite catch who that was between, but the midfield battling really hard in the opening couple of laps. The opening couple of corners. And yeah, well, what a start from Rumble. He just took off the grid and flew past most of the yeah, he just absolutely stormed past Stuart McKenzie into turn 1 there. So, yeah, very quick start from him. Contrast has made up a number of positions as well as him and Maznat. The two are also teammates. They're battling quite hard. And, yeah, not able to... well, Contrast, I mean, he's been a couple places, so that's a good start for him. He's obviously on these super soft compound tires, so he's got some work to do, although he's really struggling here. He's coming into the pits. Contrast. Yeah, okay, so he might have had a lightning start, but he picked up some damage doing so, and he does need to make his way into the pit lane. And hold on a moment, Stuart McKenzie already on the soft compound tires, attacking Rumble into turn 1. Not quite close enough yet, but we don't have DRS yet. That's coming available in lap 3. So yeah, I mean, it's very hard to defend when the car behind you has DRS along that main straight. It's a very long straight, and typically this circuit is one where everybody's running kind of higher downforce. That means more drag. So you get a bit of a bigger slipstream perhaps, but also that DRS opening does more for you when you've got a sort of deeper rear wing than you would normally at a track like Baku. But yeah, Stuart McKenzie all over the back of Rumble here, but the top group just starting to see 4 drivers pull away slightly here. Rumble, Stuart, Pete and LJB, but of course if we want to get the tires back up here, it's just Stuart on the soft compound tires. Norfolk Blue lost a number of positions off of the start. He has made his way back to P6, so he's not out of this yet, and hopefully he will be hoping and praying that Plevs can catch up to the back of this train, as Rumble has the fastest lap of the race at 21.9. That is beaten by Plevs, so he doesn't seem to have the pace perhaps to match the front group, as Stuart is getting quite close, but he isn't close enough into turn 1. Neither is Norfolk Blue, as Stylin makes the move on Maznat, and he takes 8th position. And yeah, on the soft compound tires as well, Maznat on the supers. He runs quite wide through turn 3, and that's going to open up an opportunity for our current championship leader versus the reigning champion. But it's only for 9th and 10th place at the moment in Spain. Well, hold on a moment, Stylin is just stormed past Piga, who I think has had some kind of problem. Maznat's trying to take advantage of it as well, possibly around the outside. That's not really going to work. Oh, has a moment of oversteer and nearly makes contact with James there, who is just trying to somewhat patiently wait. Here's he. Yep. Almost thinks about a move up the inside at turn 9. He considered it. Oh, hold on a moment. Sorry, we missed a move for the lead here. Apologies for that. So Stewart has taken the lead ahead of Rumble, who seems to be struggling a bit from this onboard camera. Yeah, his car's oversteering quite a lot. So maybe he's cooked his tires already. We're only in lap 3, but as he hammers that curb as well through the final chicane. And he's just about dropping out of that DRS. Yeah, look at the oversteer that he's struggling with as Pete Crichton storms past him. He's got that DRS assistance. And oh, hold on, he's caught the back of him. And there's contact between Rumble and Pete Crichton. That's certainly given Rumble damage. He takes out some brake marker boards for, you know, good riddance. I mean, yeah, he couldn't really do much about that, but I think he just caught the back. He just got stuck on the gearbox of Pete. And does Pete have damage? He doesn't. Now he's made contact. Sorry, him and Plevs have come together. Or is that... Who is that? So Pete and I think it was Plevs came together there. But yeah, that's a lot of damage onto the front wing as James H takes that position as well. He's just going to try and, you know, somewhat limp back to the pits. It's really all he can do because, you know, that car is got so much damage. He's just understeered clean off the circuit. I don't think he's got any front wing at all. And, yeah, big contact between Pete Crichton and, who was it again? I think it was Rumble, yeah, because Rumble had the very poor exit and just got caught on the gearbox or you know, the diffuser of his car, something on the back there, and that's just sent them both flying off into the wall. Reminds me of an incident back in season 13 between, I think it was Nervotank and maybe Jaythorn or something like that, where there's just, you know, a light touch on the back. Is whoa, Rumble. It's a bit of an incident coming into the pits. Not quite the correct way to enter the pit lane there. See, maybe a bit of lag going on as well, but he has to make that pit stop. Plebs in the pits, Rumble in the pits, Piga comes into the pits, he's getting a new front wing. Maznat is coming into the pits, he's getting a new front wing. So, wow, yeah, lots of drivers are very much on the recovery drive now. So throughout all of that chaos and all that's gone on, Stuart McKenzie leads the race. He's got a 1.9 second gap back to Norfolk Blue, who somehow finds himself up in P2 after all of that chaos. We're only 5 laps in. Seems like we've had far too much action for only 5 laps, but there we go. LJB currently sitting in 3rd, but he's on the super soft compound tires, and it seems like for a number of the other drivers, these tires are starting to fall away quite a lot already. Stylen, great start for him, up from 10th. He's in P4. Then we got James H in 5th. MLJH, well, he's on the medium compound tires, and he's up there in 6th. A really good start for him. You know, pretty quiet run, I think, just avoiding most of the carnage. But when you're on that alternate strategy, that's exactly what you want to be doing. Then we got Chucky, Frio, Entei, and somewhat Wimpinator there as well. Oh, hold on, there's damage there, and there's more damage, and that's a car around, and that's all very messy. Entei's broken his wing. Frio's broken his wing. Yeah, no crazy strategies this week from Frio. He's going to have to pit. Chucky, well, he's just been spun around and he might have some damage as well. He comes into the pit. So this is all getting very messy in Catalunya. Drivers were, you know, relatively very well behaved in Baku overall, but I think we might have a few stewards inquiries for this race. It's been absolute carnage in the midfield, lots of incidents, so many broken wings, a lot of contact between the drivers, and yeah, I mean, the funny thing is now that, you know, there's so many drivers back here that have broken wings and had to make a pit stop, and now they're all just kind of yeah, I mean, they're all just sort of in a race of their own back here. They're so far off of the top 10 in many regards. I mean, well, Pete Creighton is actually making into the top 10. So, I mean, yeah, all those guys, all those guys getting wing damage, they're all pretty much squabbling over P10 now. 9 seconds off in ninth. And even then, Plebs in contrast are quite a way back from the rest of the field. Things are very spread out up front at the moment as the gaps are just seeming to extend a little bit. Stuart McKenzie just extending his advantage as Rumble makes the move there. Has Pete Creighton got more damage? Surely not. I'm not sure if he does. He makes a massive dive bomb. There goes more front wing off of Rumble's car. Yeah, it's all getting quite chaotic here, and you know, it's not necessarily what you want to see. I mean, just some very aggressive driving, and you've got to say some clumsy driving out there today as well. Drivers just running into the back of each other, to be honest. And now, you know, Rumble once again has very little front wing. So yeah, I mean, normally these guys are very well behaved in terms of their driving standards, and we don't normally have too many incidents. But I think the stewards are going to have quite a busy week if more of the races end up like this. But yeah, we got this massive group outside of the top 10. Hold on a moment, Frio's off as well. He's found the gravel. He's missing front wing, so there's been contact there as well. He's had a severe collision with Maznat, apparently, who has, looking at his tires, had a trip into the gravel as well. And yeah, the wheels are kind of falling off here. So let's look our way a little further up the field. LGB makes the move on Whimpernator. So LGB, he started on the super soft compound tires. He's moved to the softs. That to me says two-stop strategy. He'll probably be in again around about lap. Let's think about this. He'll probably be in about lap, what, 19 maybe? So he pitted lap 5, I think. Or maybe lap 6. Yeah, he pitted lap 6. So to make that work, he's probably coming in lap 19 or 20 for another set of soft compound tires. So he wants to split those kind of evenly. I mean, maybe he'll have the tire wear to stretch it out for a set of supers towards the end. Although I don't know, I think the softs are generally a much better race tire. Yeah, got a couple comments. What is this, racing or ping pong? Pretty much. Does seem to be a little bit further back in the field that there is some ping pong going on as the Haas cars make a bit of a switch. I don't think Rumble fought that one too hard, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. I mean, Baku was a relatively, you know, sort of clean race in terms of front wings for the most part. And you know, that's a track where normally there are a lot of incidents. We certainly saw that in a number of the other tiers. You know, a lot of incidents in the other races. There were some kind of comedy moments as well at the castle section in a couple of the tiers with big pileups and so on. And it was all a bit chaotic in Baku, but these guys, you know, they managed that very, very well. And then we get to Catalunya and the wheels have just completely fallen off. Although, thankfully, we haven't actually lost anybody's wheels yet, so everybody is still on the track. We do have the 16 drivers, but yeah, Norfolk Blue as well is really struggling to keep up with Stuart McKenzie, who is flying away, currently second in the championship. He hasn't won a race yet, and he's just storming out in front. 4.5 seconds now, the gap back to Norfolk Blue. So Stuart McKenzie with very, very good pace here, and Stylen, he's starting to catch Norfolk Blue as well. Sure, I don't think Norfolk has any damage. His car does look pretty understeery, so he might have something on there. Because he does seem to be dropping quite quickly back into the clutches of this Red Bull, who is now within the 1 second margin to get himself some DRS. And yeah, he'll be hoping to make a move as quickly as possible. So these guys, they're at lap 9 now. Pit window is probably just about opening, and I expect to see them run a few more laps, maybe try to go until, you know, lap 12, lap 13, something like that, so that they don't run too long on the mediums. But realistically, they should be able to get the mediums to the end of the race from here. So yeah, it just depends when you feel comfortable pitting. In terms of the undercut, there's not really much of an undercut. Actually, the overcut might be stronger at this circuit, because the medium compound tires, when you leave the pits, that first sector or two, they're absolutely atrocious, and you lose quite a lot of time compared to the guys on warm, soft tires that are still putting in, reasonably respectable lap times. So an overcut can actually happen at this track. For the guy that just runs that 1 lap longer. But of course, if you leave it too long to pit, the guys will get their mediums up to temperature and they'll start to make ground on you. But yeah, Stylen might need to start thinking about the strategy somewhat here if he wants to make his way past his Renault, or possibly he'll get himself close enough to make a move down the main straight. But if Stylen wants any hope of challenging Stuart Mackenzie for the win here, which, he's 5 seconds back at the moment, it's not entirely out of the question. We've still got a long way to go here. He's going to ideally need to pass this Renault pretty quickly. We'll see if he makes any kind of move for the pits. He doesn't. And Norfolk Blue gets a really good run through the final couple of corners, and that enables him just to get a big enough gap. Stylen does have the DRS, so he will close in on Norfolk Blue. He gets a good old slipstream down there as well. He makes up quite a lot of time on this straight, but nowhere near close enough to make any kind of move into turn 1. So yeah, I mean, these are really our closest cars on track at the moment. Everything is spreading out. Obviously, with the number of contacts between drivers, things are gonna spread out quite a lot. Just with the way that this race has gone, really just so many broken front wings. It was all a little bit unnecessary, but for these guys now up in this, really sort of up in the top 7 that have kind of kept their nose clean. I mean, well, Contrast, he was in the pits, I think, on lap 1. He finds himself in 8th place somehow. That's a bit of a turnaround. That just shows how much carnage has gone on. He's made a front wing change already. Yeah, he's up there, getting some pretty solid points. So yeah, we'll see how he keeps going. If he's able to pull that gap down to Wimpernator, and start to reel him in over the next few laps, he'll need to make another stop, of course. There's no way you can do 32 laps on a set of medium compound tires, but yeah, he'll probably run on those mediums for a while and then maybe look for a set of softs towards the end of the race and just run that sort of alternate strategy. But yeah, I mean, it's for Stylen here, he's maybe got to look for the pit lane to get this done. It seems like Norfolk Blue gets such a good run. Oh, hold on a moment, never mind. There's the mistake. And Stylen, talk about a commentator's curse there. He makes his way up into 2nd place. Norfolk Blue running clean off of the track at turn 3, very, very wide. And there's no grip out there. I mean, you're just sliding out there on the marbles. So yeah, Stylen does get 2nd place off of Norfolk Blue, who seems to be struggling a little bit. Look at the oversteer on that Renault. The balance in that car not quite right. And now we got to look to our championship leader, perhaps James H. is, yeah, he's possibly going to get something done here as well, and he does. Norfolk Blue has dropped another position. He's got some kind of major problem with his car here. I don't know what's happened to him. He might have overheated his tires, maybe, or I don't know. He's got some kind of issue. He's just dropped a couple positions. He's now in 7th gear. So something has gone horribly, horribly wrong for the Renault. Should we assume in the pits he does? I think he's had a big slide at some point and completely destroyed his tires. They must have overheated completely, which maybe explains why he was running around there in such a high gear and, I mean, really just desperately trying to make it back to the pits. But yeah, he goes on to, is that another set? Yeah, that is another set of the soft compound tires for Norfolk Blue. So something different on strategy here. I mean, he's aiming for the 2-stop. He's gonna have to 2-stop, of course, because he needs to use 2 compounds of tires. Got to run. Yeah, got to run 2 of those different compounds of tires. So he needs to make another stop later on in the race. He might go for a set of supers towards the end, but I'm hoping for his sake that he's able to alleviate the problems that he's having. But yeah, I mean, he should be very, very quick on this compounded tire at the moment. Brand new softs is going to have a considerable advantage compared to the guys in front of him. Interestingly enough, Stuart Mackenzie and Stylen have both set the exact same fastest lap here. James H has slightly bettered that though over this first stint. So yeah, we'll see how these guys continue on as the as the session goes. But yeah, I think Norfolk Blue, well, he's out of any kind of contention for the race win now, as Stylen, he's the first one to blink, he pits. And that's surely going to be a set of the medium compound tires. It is the medium compound tires. He's on that one-stop strategy and will run to the end of the race. So let's see what he's able to do in terms of this pit window. Can he make up any kind of time on Stuart McKenzie? We'll keep it on the gap to leader for now, just so you guys can see the difference between him and Stuart. Obviously, he was quite a long way behind Stuart, but if he has some really good laps here, I doubt he'll be able to I doubt he'll be able to undercut him and overtake him, but he might be able to just get that gap in a little bit closer as he says hello to his teammate there on track, Whimpernator, on the alternate strategy. He's running in 6th place at the moment, and man, if he was able to hold on to that 6th place, and he's got Norfolk Blue just breathing down his neck, so that might be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, Whimpernator looking like he might be able to get some strong points so far today. His best finish so far this season has been 8th, so yeah, he's got a good opportunity of possibly at least matching that. And as Norfolk Blue just kind of showing the nose there into turn 9, that was never ever going to happen. Gives it a little wiggle on the wheel as well. He's not happy with himself. Clearly feeling some frustration. He had such a phenomenal debut, winning the race in back. It was a great drive, but he's certainly finding out today that it's certainly not plain sailing, and runs very, very deep as well, and seems to be a bit frustrated behind this Red Bull, to be honest. Not quite getting the car hooked up in the way that he wants. So James H is pit, Stuart McKenzie is pit. They both reacted to Stylen. Whereabouts is James H going to be? He's going to come out right into this battle with Norfolk Blue as well. No, he's just behind them as Norfolk Blue does get the move done. It's turn 1. Whimpernator, he's not going to fight that one too hard. He's on a completely different strategy. He's not really involved with these guys' battle at the moment. So James H comes out of the pits, and MLJH, is he going to have anything to say to Stuart McKenzie? Not quite. He's obviously on very, very old medium tires now, 14 laps old. LJB on his 2-stop strategy, he hasn't quite got Stuart McKenzie, but he has jumped himself up into, well, what is, yeah, I guess a sort of net P2. I mean, a little confusing. Him and MLJH do still have one more stop to make. Obviously, Stuart McKenzie is going to the end. Styling is going to the end. Styling actually seems to have lost time, and quite a lot of it to Stuart McKenzie through that pit stall phase. He's now sitting probably the best part of 10 seconds behind Stuart McKenzie. So, yeah, that pit stall phase working very, very well for the Force India driver, but surely LJB is going to be able to get the move done on MLGH here along the pit straight. He does have the DRS, gets a whole heap of slipstream down towards turn 1, but look at that Ferrari on the straights. It's very, very quick in the straight line, and the LJB is going to have to look for some other opportunity. He might be able to get one out of turn 3 going into turn 4, although he had the dirty air just getting in his way, and he's not quite able to get anything done as MLJH has run very deep though through turn 4. This is possibly going to give LGB an opportunity. Is he going to send it up the inside? He doesn't go for it. Maybe looks for something on exit, but he's not able to get that done, and he's got to worry about the likes of Norfolk Blue and Stylen behind him, and them making up that sort of ground. Sorry, Stylen wasn't 10 seconds off the lead. We're on gaps leader, of course, not interval, so it is just that 6-second gap. My mistake, but yeah, LJB, is he going to look into the hairpin possibly? No, he's not quite late enough on the brakes. Pulls up very close, but he's really, really getting held up by LJH now. He's obviously on very old medium tires. Although to be fair, LJB's tires are not necessarily in the best nick either. They are 10 laps old. He's just stuck here behind this Ferrari, and surely he's got to get the move done on this lap. It's all about the exit that he hit. No, he pits. He's had enough. He's coming into the pits. He doesn't want to battle with MLJH. He's probably going to take, looking at the time, he's probably going to take a set of mediums to the end of the race and just do that style of 2-stop. Doesn't want to bother battling. I think he's going to lose too much time behind MLJH and just bails into the pits. So, yeah, LJB, medium set of tires, and he will go to the end of the race. And yeah, I mean, that will give him a slight tire advantage on some of the one-stoppers, but it's not going to be too much. I think he's really just trying to jump out ahead of MLGH once he pits, but Yeah, for these guys that are, have had those front wing changes earlier on, they're on kind of alternate strategies here. They'll mostly be looking for a set of the medium compound tires now, the likes of Pete and Chucky and, yeah, some of these other guys as well. Just, oh god, Rumble's lost another front wing. Took the leads into turn 1, had a phenomenal start. He's now in 15th place, and, well, he's at risk of going a lap down, possibly, to Stuart McKenzie, the way things are looking. But yeah, I mean, so let's just take a moment to recap after that pit window. So Stuart McKenzie leads. MLGH is out there on an alternate strategy and running a bit of a train at the moment. Norfolk Blue on what we think, well, I mean, what definitely is a two-stop strategy. He's on the softs at the moment. Unless there's been some kind of timing glitch, as Piga's had a mistake in the second sector. That's what the yellows are for. But Norfolk Blue around the outside into turn 1, not able to get anything done. MLGH seems incredibly fast on the straight. Oh, there's contact between the two of them, and he's clipped MLGH. MLGH is off in the gravel. There's a bit of a pirouette there. He gets himself back on the track, and Norfolk Blue, is he waiting for him? I think he's waiting for him, so that's nice to see. He's realized he's made the mistake there, and that he's spun around that Ferrari, and there we go. So that's very nice to see from the VP driver. Obviously costing himself a huge amount of time, but he's recognized that was his mistake, and yeah, he's allowed MLGH back through, and just sort of a driver's way of saying sorry when you end up blowing someone else up. Is yeah, I don't think MLGH has any damage to his car. I mean, he did have a spin off in the gravel, but I don't think he made contact with any wall, so he's lost a lot of time, but he shouldn't have too many problems. I mean, he's getting towards the end of this medium stint as well. Now, of course, because of that, Contrast has found himself up in 4th somehow. He's still got one more pit stop to make, so yeah. Although, to be honest, well, pretty much all these guys, the only person that doesn't have a pit stop to make still in the back end of this top 10 is LJB on that 2-stop. So, yeah, let's see if Norfolk Blue is able to get it right the second time running, as he does have a better run, I think, this time into turn 1. He's going to go all the way around the outside. They are side-by-side through turn 1, as Plows is sped into the pit lane. Not ideal for him. But look at that, Norfolk Blue, it does get the position. He's up into 5th now, and he'll go chasing after Contrast. Those guys both have one more pit stop to make, we think. So, yeah, they're effectively on. I mean, obviously they're on different tires right now, but they're going to be fighting over the same piece of track and the same positions towards the end of this race. Contrast, you've got to say, I mean, he did have that pit stop earlier, didn't he, with the broken front wing. He still has that one more stop to make, but he's at a phenomenal recovery drive to find himself now in 4th place, despite having, losing so much time on lap 1. He's now run 17 laps on these medium tires. There's surely a set of soft compound tires waiting for him in the pit lane. Maybe this lap, maybe next lap. We'll see what Contrast does. Up front, Stuart McKenzie is just hanging that gap. He's holding it just more than 6 seconds to Stylen, so there's not too much going on there. James H might be able to catch Stylen by the end of this race. He seems pretty quick around here. Didn't have an ideal qualifying, but yeah, Norfolk Blue does jump up into 4th place now that Contrast pits, and I think this is surely going to be a set of soft compound tires. Yeah, so it is a set of the soft. Same for MLGH, same for Whimpernator. So these guys are all going to run until the end of the race. 13 laps, 14 laps on the softs. Should be pretty comfortable for them to do, and they should be very, very quick from now on as well. So Contrast, he's got 10 seconds ahead of him to LGB. That's quite a long way, but, well, I mean, 13 laps on a set of soft compound tires compared to mediums that are slightly older, it's not out of the question. So we'll see if Contrast is able to pull that in. Somebody that is pulling the gap in, though, is James H on Stylen. So James really kicking on in the second part of this race and is now eyeing up 2nd position here in Catalonia. I don't think he's got any hope of catching Stuart McKenzie by the end. He's just storming off, but Yeah, James H now is going to have a look at Stylen. It's turn 1. He has the DRS. He has the slipstream. Is he going to be close enough? He's not quite close enough on this lap. He's going to have to try and line something up, maybe out of the exit of turn 3. He does carry a little bit more speed through turn 2, but he gets a wall of dirty air. Look at that. Understeering way wide, and that really hurts him on his run towards turn 4. And you can see just whenever that Red Bull just crosses over his line in front of him, that the understeer just kicks in such a big way with the dirty air on this game. So yeah, James is next best opportunity is going to be into the hairpin. Ooh, bit of a twitch. Cars just stepping out there constantly. We've seen a number of drivers have oversteer there. Again, I don't think he's going to be close enough. I mean, you can get late braking maneuvers done into this hairpin, but not from that far back. You gotta kind of, you know, got a death wish if you're going from that far back. But yeah, he's all over the back of Stylen now, who's really dropping off from Stewart. Stylen struggling more so on these medium compound tires than he was on the softs. As James thumps that inside curb now. Is he close enough on this lap? I think so. He should have. This is definitely his best opportunity, as he has the slipstream, he has the DRS, and he's closing on Stylen. He's going to have to go around the outside. Stylen defends to the inside, but it's not going to be enough, and James takes that position. Stylen, hopefully for him, he can try and slipstream behind James for a little bit, and perhaps battle with him later in the race. See if he can hang on to him for now. James seems very, very quick, and our championship leader takes second position here in Catalonia, but he's got such a huge gap in front of him. He's going to really struggle to make any inroads there. I mean, 8.5 seconds is a long, long way to go. So, yeah, Stuart McKenzie, once again, he's not won a race strategy. So, yeah, I mean, you know, the guys starting on the supers and then going soft and soft. The final stint of the race, I mean, they're basically in the same position tire-wise as the drivers that did the one-stop starting on the mediums, because obviously the mediums lasting similar amount of times as a set of you know, qualified super softs and then also the softs. So these guys are, you know, as you can see there, we've got very similar, you know, tire life, and they should both comfortably make it to the end of the race with pretty good pace. But yeah, we'll see if Wimperneder, he's just dropping off the back of Plebs here, so he is kind of struggling to hang on to the back of that Force India, and Plebs will be looking possibly at Norfolk Blue, see if he's able to catch that up. I mean, Norfolk Blue has been very, very quick around here so far, but at the same time, he is on the medium compounded tires. He wouldn't have made it to the end on the super softs from this point in the race. So yeah, I mean, for him, he's got an absolute license to to push those tires to the absolute limit. I mean, he can just drive as aggressively as he wants on those medium tires, and he shouldn't have any issue. As we do have a move, Pete Crichton is making his way up into 10th place. Of course, these guys, part of the absolute chaos in the midfield, battling over P10, so they've at least got something to fight over. It's just 1 point, but hell, they all count. As Norfolk Blue has actually got himself in the DRS of MLGA, so he's able to push these medium tires really, really well. Somebody asking for fastest laps. There we go. Yeah, I mean, you can see, you know, James, very, very good pace on the medium compound of tires. You know, just slightly quicker than Stuart. Stylen is really struggling on these mediums. He was very quick on the softs, but he doesn't seem to quite be able to keep up with Stuart and James on the medium compound tire. Just not able to get that tire working in the way that the other guys are. And Norfolk Blue, once he's got these mediums up to temperature, is very, very quick. On the back of MLJH now, this is going to be a pretty simple pass, you would think, for the Renault driver. Although we have seen MLJH with some pretty crazy straight line speed, but yeah, he's going to defend into turn 1 naturally. So he's going to try and hold that down the inside. He's very late on the brakes. He's too late on the brakes. Runs deep into the corner. Norfolk Blue says thank you very much and takes P6. Next car for him is Contrast, but Contrast is on the softs and is quite a long way up the road. And while we're speaking about that 11-second gap, it's now only 5 seconds. So he's making a lot of ground very, very quickly on LJB. So we're going to have a battle for 4th, I think, towards the final few laps of the race. Stylen just dropping off the back of James now. He's struggling to hang on to that Williams that seems very, very quick. well, now that he's out of the traffic of the chaos at the start of the race. But yeah, so just looking at a rundown, Stuart McKenzie still leading. He's got 8 laps to go if he wants to pick up his first win of the season. It's been a great drive from him. He's got phenomenal pace all morning here. James in second, Style in third, LJB in fourth, and I think that would be his strongest result of this season so far. Let me just double check that for Sir LJB. It would be his best position so far. His best finishing position was 6th in Baku. So yeah, I mean, this would be a great result for LJB. He's, of course, one of those guys. It was very, very strong last season. He finished 3rd in the championship, but of course, you know, he was one of those guys that had to turn off the racing line. And you can see as the season continues on, he's starting to edge his way back up the field. Okay, there's been a lot of contact and chaos in this race. We've got to have that caveat in there. I mean, there's been a crazy number of front wings broken, but LJB has kept it pretty clean, and he's sitting there in 4th. But he's got Contrast, who's very, very experienced without the racing line, just closing him in, and that's now down to 4.5. Another 0.6 has come out of it. But of course, as the laps run down, Contrast's tire advantage will get lower and lower. So yeah, I mean, for Contrast, he's got to try and get within that DRS pretty quickly and just keep running that gap down. There's yellow flags in sector 1. It's not any of our leaders. Let's see if we can find out who it is. Not able to see who that is, but yeah, just those yellow flags popping up briefly. So we have lost 2 cars, Shuki and Rumble, 2 Haas drivers out of this race. Very unfortunate for them. I mean, Rumble with such an incredible start off the grid. He just had an unbelievable launch, and unfortunately for him, unable to turn it into really anything kind of meaningful there. But yeah, he's out of this race, and his teammate along with him, and there's just been so much carnage. I mean, that's, you're wondering if you're joining us now and you're wondering, wow, why on earth are the gaps so big? Well, you just got to go and watch the Demolition Derby. That was the opening 5 laps of the race, because the midfield was absolute chaos. Crazy number of spins and front wings broken in contact between drivers, and aggressive moves and clumsy moves and careless moves, and yeah, it was all a bit messy early on. The drivers clearly having a bit of an off day. That can happen sometimes, and you have a couple drivers make mistakes, and things somewhat compound on each other. But that's why we've got guys like guys like Pete, Entei, Mazna, Piga's showing some pretty good pace at points. Frio, obviously, as well, is showing great pace. These guys are just way, way back, and that's because they've just been involved in those incidents and broken front wings, and you lose so much time. And for them, it does look like Pete Crichton's got a pretty good hold on P10 now. I mean, he is only 8 seconds at this point off of Wimperniter, so that group is starting to kind of catch back up to the lead pack a little bit. But of course, Wimperniter on those fresher, soft compound tires, Pete's going to have a hard time reeling that in. Over the last sort of 6 laps of this race, he's got to hope that someone in front of him, somebody who starts to really struggle on their tires. So yeah, then we got Wimperniter in 9th position. He was looking good for, maybe, well, we thought he might end up in 6th or 7th at one point during the race, but he's just not quite been able to match what Plebs and MLGH have been doing. And that's costing him the opportunity to really fight for that P7 there. Just got to try and keep it consistent, and hope there's maybe a mistake or two from the guys in front of him. Plevs up there in 8th on the 2-stop strategy. MLGH was the driver alongside Wimperniter at the start of the race on the medium compound tire. Did a very good job to keep himself out of trouble in the opening section of the race, that opening stint, and he will probably be rewarded with 6 points here, assuming that nothing too crazy happens. Then we got Norfolk Blue, who's been in the wars a bit. He was one of the guys coming into this race and took provisional pole at one point during the qualifying session. Ended up starting 4th, although he was only 1.5 tenths off a pole. Him and Stewart with incredible lap times on the soft compound tires. Seems to have very good pace, but just contact and I think he destroyed his soft tires in that first stint somehow, so he's had to bail onto a very conservative two-stop strategy, soft medium for him, and yeah, he's going to end up in P6, which, you know, I mean, when you're off race, things don't go well for you, and you still pick up 8 points. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I think he's one of those drivers. We have yellow flags in sector 3. Not many of our leaders there, but yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. You know, he's come in a few races late, but the season is so long. It's a 21 race season, so for the drivers, even those guys like Norfolk Blue that have come in and started their season in Baku, obviously starting with a win helps massively with this, but you know, that they've got a good chance of battling for that championship towards the end of the season. I mean, you know, it's a bit of a disadvantage coming in 3 races late, but at the same time, you know, if the other drivers in the league have a couple of DNFs and you don't, you're pretty much at even footing at that point. So yeah, I mean, for Norfolk Blue, 8 points for him today here. It's not ideal, but when you've been in the wars as much as he has, I think he'll be relatively happy with 8 points. Now in front of him we've got Contrast in 5th, who he's catching LJB, but it's not enough. He really took big chunks out of him earlier on in this stint. He is also pretty low on energy, whereas LJB still has plenty to use over these last sort of 3-4 laps. But yeah, I mean, Contrast, he's got that gap down to 4 seconds, but it's just not dropping fast enough. He really needs to do more if he wants any hope of catching LJB. He needs about a second lap at this point, and his soft tires starting to wear quite a lot. So yeah, for Contrast, I think it's going to be P5 at best, probably for him, unless of course penalties. We haven't even considered that throughout this race. There's quite a lot going on, but yeah, I mean, there might be a penalty or two that ends up affecting the race results. So we got Plevs catching LJH a little bit. I think we're going to get a battle here soon towards the final part of the race for P7. Looking further up the field as well, Stylin's just not quite able to hang with James H. James H does seem a bit quicker than Stewart. That gap coming down to 7.2, but well, Stewart has a big enough buffer for sure to make it to the end. He just needs to avoid any kind of major mistake now, and he will pick up his first win of the season. Don't want to jinx it, but yeah, he's in a really good spot. There we go. So speaking of penalties, Stylin picks one up. So yeah, obviously he's a long way ahead of LJB behind him. 21 seconds between those guys. LJB just, I mean, that's really just sort of the extra pit stop time that LJB has had to make on that two-stop strategy. But yeah, I mean, that top 3 really stretching their legs out there in front, and you know, because of all the carnage early on in this race, you know, that the gaps have ended up spread out much larger than they normally would be. But yeah, this gap between Plevs and LJH is starting to close in though, and Wimpinator is getting a little bit closer to them as well. He's just 2.5 seconds back. That was a little bit more than 3 earlier on. So Plevs now needs to find his way into the DRS pretty quickly of LJH. He wants to give himself enough time to set up a move. Of course, we've seen throughout this race so far that Ferrari has phenomenal straight line speed. He's not easy to pass, and he's pretty late on the brakes in turn 1 as well, although it was a little bit too late on the brakes when Norfolk Blue passed him earlier. But yeah, I mean, for MLJH, you just got to hug that inside into turn 1 and get the braking point right, and you know, try to overtake a ride the outside of turn 1 is very difficult to do. Yeah, you just kind of run out of road there, and then you get up on the curb around turn 2, and it's all very awkward. As Maznat has had a spin off into the gravel, Entei takes P11, but these guys not got too much hope of finishing inside the points. I think Pete Crichton is just about put the nail in the coffin on that front. I think Entei's going for a bit of a fastest lap, to be fair, here on the super soft tires towards the end of the race. But yeah, I mean, these guys have just had a lot of misfortune in this race, a lot of contacts with other drivers, and you know, they're outside of the points because of it. Plebs, he's not quite caught MLJH yet. MLJH just able to keep him at arm's length so far. He's only got 2 more laps to go, Plebs, so he needs to get himself in that DRS pretty soon. The rear end of that Ferrari twitching around in front of him. That'll give him some confidence, give him some hope that he can get something done here on the Ferrari. He's closing up. He's just about 1 second behind. Is he able to get within the DRS? It's about 9/10. Surely that's close enough for Plevs. Does he get it? He does get the DRS. So that DRS is now open. He's going to get a couple of tenths from it on this lap, and that should allow him to close up to the back of MLJH over the course of this lap. Get himself in that slipstream as he thumps the curb at turn 1. And yeah, now he's got an opportunity to battle for P7 here, although he doesn't get a great run through turn 3. That costs him a bit of time. And yeah, for MLJH, he's just got to use that straight line speed and defend as hard as he possibly can in the final couple laps of the race as Stuart Mackenzie makes his way onto the final lap of the race. Of course, these guys that we're watching are still in lap 32, but yeah, Stuart Mackenzie just streaking out in front. I think James H has almost given up. That gap has increased to 10 seconds. We got some yellows in sector 2. Doesn't seem to be anybody in front of these guys, but Plevs now only 6 tenths behind. So that's interesting camera angle, Go Masters. But yeah, I mean, he's now got really one opportunity to get this move done, or one great opportunity. And Sirwani, he has a big snap of oversteer there. It runs a little bit wide as well. Got to be careful of the track limits. I think these tires are just starting to fall away for both drivers. Yeah, let's just make sure that we're not going to end up missing Supervisor Stuart Mackenzie on track. We've got a little bit of time to watch this battle between Plevs and MLJH as MLJH defends the inside. Plevs to the DRS with the slipstream. He's up in overtake mode, but he's not quite going to be close enough into turn 1, is he? No, he's not. MLJH with such phenomenal straight line speed, and Plevs isn't able to get it done. He's going to have to try and invent something for the rest of the lap, but we are going to need to go and watch Stuart Mackenzie cross the line and pick up his first win of the season. Took pole position on the soft compound tires. He's looked the quickest guy out here today, and there we go. A win for Stuart Mackenzie. I'm sure that feels very, very good for him and well deserved. Great race from him, just showed great pace and kept himself out of the trouble, and yeah, fantastic drive. James H gets close to him on penalties, but it's not quite enough, and he gets P2. Stylen in P3. LJB quite a long way back from those guys. Just hold on a moment. Norfolk Blue has somehow caught Contrast massively. I missed what happened there, but he's all over the back of him now, coming into the final couple of corners as Contrast runs really wide out of the final chicane, and Norfolk Blue has to back out of it. He was so close to Contrast. Now we've got Plevs and MLJH as well. Is he going to try something into the final chicane? Not quite. Maybe gets a better exit though. MLJH runs slightly deep. Really good traction out of here, might give him the opportunity. He's just about showing the nose up the inside, and there's contact between the two of them. Oh no! MLJH, oh no, he's out of the race! He's crashed! And Plevs has caught the back of him there. MLJH once again clipped from behind, and I think he, well, yeah, that's, he's not quite made it to the line. So, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen here in terms of the positions. We'll have to see who actually finished on the lead lap, but MLJH, wow, that's worse than awful luck. That's yeah, that's really, really unfortunate to see. But once again, he just gets caught by the car behind him, and you know, that happened earlier in the race between him and Norfolk Blue as well, and we saw that between Rumble and P. Crichton. The drivers just seeming to get stuck on the gearbox or the diffuser or the rear wing or something on the back of these cars, and you know, they're getting jammed there, and the car in front of him is spinning off. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there. So Stuart Mackenzie finishes first. Great result from him, great drive, and well done to Stuart Mackenzie for that. James in second, Style in third, LJB finishes fourth, Contrast in fifth, Norfolk Blue in sixth, Wimpinator grabs seventh in the end because of that late contact. Plevs, Pete, and MLJH make up the rest of the points. So I think what happens here, MLJH, because he was on the final lap of the race, he should pick up P10 here. Even though he's DNF'd, he should pick up P10 because Entei, Maznat, and so on were a lap down. So MLJH, because he got onto that final lap, I think he will pick up 1 point. But I'm sure that we will see some kind of steward's inquiry about that. You know, yeah, I mean, so basically what happens there, because MLJH has done, you know, 33 laps and, well, 32 laps and, you know, minus 100 meters there at the line. He has technically completed more of the race than the likes of Entei or Maznat, so he should hold on to that P10 despite that losing his wheel there. So he will at least get the 1 point. But wow, yeah, that's an extremely unfortunate end to the race, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see something in the stewards about that. But yeah, I mean, what a wild race here this morning. Just so much contact, so many incidents between drivers. It really was just, really was just a demolition derby out here. And that's well. There was a number of drivers that kept it very clean. Obviously guys like Stewart and James and Stylen were able to avoid the absolute chaos that was that opening stint. But yeah, very good drives from them, and yeah, I think the stewards are going to be quite busy. But yeah, that's been round five of the third season of the Oceania League here on AOR, and a bit of a crazy race. But Stuart McKenzie does pick up his first win, and that will help him close in the gap to James in front of him in the championship. He won't quite take the championship lead, but I think they'll be within 3 points. So yeah, it's very, very close up there at the top. Obviously, Frio with a race to forget will drop some points. Contrast won't quite catch him, but he will get pretty close. Same for Stylen. Those guys are both, I think, going to be. Well, I think Contrast will maintain P4, but him, Frio, and Stylen are going to all be within about 5, 6 points of each other, at around about 53 to 48 points, something like that. So, yeah, that's an interesting battle sort of developing there. But yeah, I mean, just a crazy, crazy race, and lots of drivers, dropping a lot of points. I mean, we got guys like Frio and Ense and Maznad and so on that are, Rumble as well, certainly, that are normally well up there in the points that aren't going to get anything from this race. So yeah, I can see the group chat as well for the race kind of exploding, and after that race is done. I'm not sure entirely. Everybody is happy with what's got on, especially in that first stint there. But hey, that's just how racing goes sometimes, and yeah, got to make the most of it, and Stuart McKenzie was certainly able to do that today. And well, I mean, to be honest, he really kind of, apart from Rumble's incredible start, Stuart got himself back up into the lead, and then just stormed off and controlled the race from there. And yeah, it was a very measured and very, very quick drive from him. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. If you want to watch some more racing today, obviously head over and check out what's happened on the Xbox races. Those races are always very entertaining. And then we've got the European races later on tonight. There's a quick change of time, obviously due to the Brazilian Grand Prix, the real life Brazilian Grand Prix starting at about 5 p.m. UK time. The start of the PS4 top split race has been put back a little bit. We'll be starting that at 7:30 rather than 7 UK time. So yeah, there's a little change of time there. And then of course PC split 1 will be at 8 p.m. and Xbox split 1 will be at 9 p.m. Of course, every other split, so F2 and downwards, will be running at the standard 8 p.m. time. So if you're wanting to watch any of those streams, that's the time that you can do it. And then, of course, we will have the PC American League late tonight. I think that's happening around about 1 a.m. So yeah, for those of you that are up there as the night owls, you can watch that one. And yeah, there's normally some pretty good racing on that grid as well. But thanks for joining me. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday.